Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to Linda Lee. Linda, you may begin.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Lee, and I would like to welcome everyone to the Exploring Census Data webinar series on using census data, where we will be looking at a case study and walking through data tools to demonstrate how to find the data. So let's go ahead and dive right in. A bit about the Exploring Census Data webinar series. It is a series of monthly webinars presented by topics with real-life use cases. The webinars are presented by subject matter experts, and you'll have the opportunity to connect with our presenters using the chat feature throughout the presentation and during the Q&A segment at the end of the presentation. The series has been around for several years, and we have recordings of past webinars posted on census.gov found under the Census Academy. The first link will lead you directly to the archive recordings. And if you'd like to learn more about our trainings, please use the second link to the Census Academy's main page. But please note that we are utilizing technology off-site, and we aim to provide you with the best experience possible. Should we experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the chat feature to let us know of issues, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. On today's agenda, I will briefly touch on about the Census Bureau. Then I'll turn the presentation over to my colleagues to go into the case study and demonstrate the data tools. The data tools that we will be showcasing today are the Census Business Builder and On the Map. Today we have two speakers with extensive knowledge and expertise on the data tools included in today's session. Up first is Ms. Erlene Dowell. Erlene is a program analyst with the Data User and Trade Outreach branch, specializing in longitudinal employer household dynamics programs. Erlene will introduce the case study and then dive into the On the Map and the On the Map for emergency management data tools and show how to navigate both of the tools to find the data in today's case study. Then next is Mr. Nadal Gibran. Nadal is a program analyst with the Dissemination Standards staff, where he leads testing and outreach efforts for the Census Business Builder data tools. Nadal will pick up the case study from Erlene and dive into the functionalities of the CBB and how the tool can help locate the data and create reports. Finally, we'll close out with a Q&A. Now, although we have a section at the end dedicated to the Q&A, please feel free to send your questions during the presentation, and we will respond when possible. About the Census Bureau is the federal government's largest of the 13 statistical agencies, where we conduct over 130 surveys each year, with some of our more well-known ones listed here. First on the list, many people recognize the decennial census that is conducted every 10 years, counting the population and housing. The next is the American Community Survey, which is a yearly survey on the nation's population. Now, from the business data side of the house, we have the economic census that measures American businesses. And the economic census has a public sector's counterpart called the Census of Governments. This is the official 5-year measure of the nation's state and local government sector. This slide lists examples of a few of our widely used monthly, quarterly, and annual economic surveys. The monthly surveys are part of the economic indicators that are included in reporting the GDP, and the annual surveys include nearly every sector of the economy. Now, when it comes to our data, a pyramid is a nice representation between timeliness and details. At the top of the pyramid are the high-frequency programs, where data are released on a bi-weekly basis with less details available, in comparison to programs on the lower levels in the pyramid. As you slide down the level to the monthly and quarterly surveys, these surveys are timely and include the nation's key economic indicators. And as mentioned on the previous slide, they are used for tracking and reporting the GDP. Moving down another step to the annuals, these are surveys that provide data for nearly every sector of the economy, and data from these programs are useful for analyzing trends. Then we have the economic census that takes place every 5 years. This is our most comprehensive data source for business data. Finally, at the bottom of the pyramid are administrative data that serves as the foundation of our statistics. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Erlene. All yours, Erlene.
Thank you, Linda. Good afternoon, everyone. Nadal and I are so excited to be here to share with you a few of our emergency management data equity tools. On March 26 at 1:28 a.m., the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after the container ship Dali struck one of its piers. More than 1 million people who live in Baltimore and Baltimore County and thousands more tourists and commuters could be impacted by the collapse in the coming months. This article highlights many Census Bureau's data sets used to look at the affected regions' population, demographic, economic, and commuting profiles to assist in emergency management response and recovery, such as the American Community Survey, county business patterns, and non-employer statistics, to name a few. In addition, my colleague Nadal and I are going to walk through this case study demonstrating useful census data tools that can be used for emergency response planning. On the Map for Emergency Management is a public data tool that provides an intuitive web-based interface for accessing U.S. population and workforce statistics in real time for areas being affected by natural disasters. The tool allows users to retrieve reports containing detailed workforce, population, and housing characteristics for hurricanes, floods, wildfires, winter storms, and federal disaster declaration areas. Hurricanes, tropical storms, and snowfalls, freezing temperatures, and floods all come from NOAA. Disaster declaration areas come from FEMA. Wildfires come from the Department of Interior and Department of Agriculture. And demographic and economic data comes from the Census Bureau's 2020 Decennial, the American Community Survey, and the Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics Origin Destination Employment Statistics, or commonly known as LODES. Just a little bit of background about where the LODES data comes from. Under a voluntary federal-state partnership, states send their unemployment insurance wage records and their quarterly census of employment wage data, and we combine that with other censuses and surveys to create this unique data set. On the Map for Emergency Management has comprehensive reports, real-time data updates, it's easy to use, it can look at historical events, and flexible analyses and visualizations. On the Map for Emergency Management can assist in identifying vulnerabilities, social vulnerabilities, physical vulnerabilities, and economic vulnerabilities. Using the ACS, we can see social and physical vulnerabilities. We can see households with one or more people 65 years or over. We can see if they are disabled, and we can see house heating fuel or year structure was built, to name a few physical vulnerabilities. Using the decennial data, we can access the physical vulnerabilities, whether a house is occupied or vacant. And to understand the economic vulnerabilities of the event using the LODES data, we can look at the total numbers of workers in the impacted area, the industry impacted in the area, and the earnings for money lost to workers in the impacted area. Here's a screenshot taken from April 3rd. You can see that at the top, we have a search box to put in keywords like Hurricane Ida or FEMA disaster declarations like DR 4611, which is also Hurricane Ida. On the left-hand side is a list of current events. The map also shows current events, such as snowfall, fires, one flood, and FEMA disaster declarations in orange. You can see the legend to the right of all the different events. Using on the Map for Emergency Management and previous tropical storm Ophelia, we can look at some of Baltimore City's vulnerabilities that may have been affected by the bridge collapse. Let's go live to look at some of the vulnerabilities. So the easiest way to get to On the Map for Emergency Management is to Google On the Map, one word, for emergency management. And once there, you click on the first link that's available. So right away, the map pops up and you can see that this is the date for today, April 18th. And then on the left-hand side, you can see all of the current events that are happening right now, starting with the wildfires. In the map, you can see several wildfires going on, some snowfalls, a lot more floods than we had in the, on April 3rd. And then you can see some of the FEMA disaster declaration areas. To the right, you can see the legend. We can also change the base map if you wanted to. You can pick on terrain or satellite or hybrid, and then you can zoom into Alaska or Hawaii if you wanted to do that. So up here at the search, I'm going to go ahead and type in Ophelia because the collapse is not a natural disaster, we're going to improvise. So we're going to type in Ophelia, and then I'm going to click on Tropical Storm Ophelia. I also wanted to just kind of point out this filter where you can filter your search to just what you're looking for. But since it popped up, I'll just click on Tropical Storm Ophelia. So here we are. It zooms into the area that was affected, but we're going to click on event area here under analysis area, and I'm going to change that to places, and then I'm just going to click on Baltimore City and click on select. So, this is a little out of the way to look for some of the information, but it's here if you need it. So we can scroll down and look at some of the vulnerabilities. So the total in family households, we have the number 407,149. We can look at the disability status by age, so we can see those that are 65 and over, and the map updates as well. You can see the legend for the darker areas are the ones that are populated by 65 years and over. You can click on year the structures were built, which is not really coherent, valuable for what we're looking at for the collapse of the bridge, but this would be to see how many vehicles are in the area. So we can see there's about 244,893 vehicles in the impacted area. We can also change it up. We can look at the decennial counts. So with the decennial counts, we can look at the housing units, and then this would be useful. So we can see total of universe occupied housing units. It's over 6,392,695. And then we can change the topic again, and we can look at the workforce employed in the event area. So looking at this, we can see how many workers are in the area. Again, 6,523,000 and up. We can look at the NAICS industries that are most affected. So you can see if you scroll down that the most affected would be healthcare, followed by professional, scientific and technical services, and then retail trade. All of this can be exported, like reports, and the maps can be exported for you. So moving on, you can't talk about On the Map for emergency management without talking about its big sister, On the Map. On the Map is a robust data tool that allows users to analyze workforce characteristics all the way down to the census blocks. The tool allows analysts to look at workforce composition by industry and demographic characteristics, along with worker inflow and outflow and commuting patterns, and you can custom build your own analysis areas. In this screenshot, we are looking at the total jobs, including part-time jobs in the selected area. To get this graph, I drew a line across the bridge, and then I did a buffer of 10 miles. So you can see that the total jobs in those areas are about 496,280. In this one, this screen, we are looking at those that live in the area. So we're looking at the workers that live in the area with the 10-mile buffer around the bridge again. And so those that live in the area are 399,067. And then we're moving on to this one. So this one is the distance direction of workers who work in Dundalk. So Dundalk falls on the end of the bridge. And so we can see here that 25,294 people live in Dundalk, and that by looking at the radar chart, you can see that many of these people that live there have to travel west or northwest to go to work. And finally, this one is those that are employed in Dundalk. So we're talking about how many people are coming to Dundalk to work. So it's about 14,399, but again, you can see with the radar that many people are traveling from the west and northwest, along with the north and northeast. So let's go live to look at this. And again, same with on the map for emergency management, we just go ahead and put in on the map and click on the first link that's at the top. And here I'm going to go ahead and type in Baltimore into the search. And once I do that, all the geographies that have the word Baltimore comes up, but we just want to focus on Baltimore City. And instead of going through all of this, we're going to do a little more of an advanced look because we want to look at the area that was affected by the bridge. So I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to click on selection. I'm going to clear my selection. And then I'm going to go over here where the bridge is, and I'm going to draw a line. So I'll take this line and I'll just kind of just connect the bridge. And then the next step is add layer selection. So I'm going to make sure that I put in no selected layer because I don't want to have all of the zip codes, all of the other things coming into my analysis. So I'm just going to put no selected layer, and then I'll do a simple ring of 10. Once I do that, I'll go up to the top where it says confirm selection. And then now we can do our analysis. So it says that I've made a selection that is about 382,155 square miles. There's about 14,252 blocks within that. You don't have to do 10 miles. You can do, 5 if you'd like. And then it comes to an analysis settings box. So in the first column, you can choose whether you want to look at where the worker works or where the worker lives. So we're just going to keep it at work. The screenshots that I showed was an area profile, which is just an overview of the whole area that we've selected. And then we're going to go with the latest year. And I had actually clicked on all jobs. All jobs means every single job out there. If you have more than one job, that means all of your part-time jobs as well. And I figured that would be, just knowing how many people are traveling to have to go to work, that would be a good number to look at. So I'll click on this go with the exclamation and a lightning bolt. And then once that happens, it pops up. So the number's a little different because I probably drew my my line across the bridge a little different, but you can see here that the total jobs are about 503,950. We can look at the worker age. We can look at what the earnings are. So we can see that many of them, majority of them, almost 60% of them earn more than 3,333 per month. You can see all of the different industries affected. And again, healthcare being one of the tops. And then you can look at the different races affected. So you can see some of the vulnerabilities happening, same with Hispanic or non-Hispanic, and then those that have a bachelor's degree or a high school diploma, and then the worker sex. We're going to change that real quick, and we're going to look at the home just so you can see how accessible this information is. So here we're looking at those living in the affected area. So there's about 405,136. So these are workers living in the custom area. So I'm going to switch to another area, and I'm going to change this to, actually, I'll just reload. And we're going to change it to Dundalk. And we'll click on search again. And I'll click on Dundalk, Maryland, under places. We'll perform analysis. And then we're going to look at the distance direction like we did earlier. And I'll click on all jobs again. And we'll click on go. And here you can see that those workers employed in Dundalk, there's about 14,000, and all traveling where they live is, you know, the Northwest and so forth. We'll do one more change. We'll do one more analysis. This is the inflow outflow. And here we're looking at those traveling into Dundalk to work, how many live and work within Dundalk, and then how many people live in Dundalk and travel out of Dundalk to work. So that's about 25,314. So you can see how many people that are commuting in and out of that area that were possibly using the bridge, but now having to find alternative routes to get to work. So that concludes my part of the presentation, and now I'd like to hand it over to Nadal.
Hello, thank you very much, Arlene. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nadal Gibran. I'm very happy to be here with you all and very excited to speak to you about Census Business Builder and also talk about how it can be useful as a tool in evaluating the impact of disasters, both economic and demographic of the surrounding areas. So to start off, what is Census Business Builder? Well, Census Business Builder is a tool which you can use to pull any data provided or collected by Census and transpose it onto a map. And from that, you can use it to generate business profile reports, which are very powerful reports that can be used for business plans, grant applications, all sorts of things. So starting off, let's talk about the guiding principles of Census Business Builder. Census Business Builder is easy to use. CBB uses plain language, tooltips, and provides an overall easy user experience. From the beginning, we've had a customer focus. So we've received a lot of feedback over the years since we've released the tool. And today, if you're not seeing anything that you would like to see in the tool, please reach out to us, and your feedback is always greatly appreciated. The feedback is what has created this tool and has made it look today the way that it looks. We provide access to census data and more. When we first launched this tool back in 2015, we only had Census Bureau data. Soon after, we realized that there was a great benefit into combining data from other government agencies, such as the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We are using the latest technology. Census Business Builder was the first tool to make it into the cloud at the Census Bureau. And best of all, it's provided for free. On the screen, you'll see a link. I would recommend that you go to this website and bookmark it because this is where we provide all of our information for Census Business Builder as well as reference materials, flyers, handouts, and contact information as well. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so in this slide, we're going to talk about the CBB user experience. We designed the Census Business Builder to allow for a positive and enriching user experience. Census Business Builder is useful because it can help generate customizable reports that can serve many needs, including, as we discussed earlier, business plans. It can also assist with grant applications. It can be a useful tool for economic development planning, as well as emergency preparedness. Census Business Builder is easy to locate. You can get to the application directly from census.gov or with a simple search using your preferred search engine. The application is accessible across all mobile devices, including Android and iOS. We've also made sure that it is 508 compliant. Recently, we went through a full 508 compliance review, and we've enhanced the application accordingly. It's credible. You know you are looking at the latest and most accurate data because it comes directly from Census. It's easy to use. The application is packed with features, but it is also organized and intuitive. We provided tooltips to help guide you with using the features of Census Business Builder. We use plain language across the platform as well. And finally, the Census Business Builder is valuable because it is mission critical. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so when you first land on Census Business Builder, it will give you an option to take a tour, and we recommend that you take this option. The reason why we added a tour is that this way you can familiarize yourself with all of the features that you see. The tour has 43 slides, which you can access at your convenience. Once you are finished, you can just exit out and start using the tool. Next slide, please. So this slide will talk about some of the key features of Census Business Builder. Starting off with the dashboard. So when you first sign on to the application, you will see a map, and then you will see this dashboard in front of you. The dashboard contains all of the information that you will be looking at when you select the geography. So if you selected, in this case, Fairfax County, Virginia, you'll notice that the dashboard will automatically populate with whatever information is reflective of that geography. So in this case, the dashboard is going to update with median household income level information, education information, employer establishment, and home ownership rate, as well as the total population for whatever geography you select. The information on the dashboard is customizable. You can swap out any of these data items for anything that we have available in Census Business Builder. We also have a region view next to the detailed view. This will allow you to build and customize your region. Geographic levels, you can get to any geography you want by typing it or just by clicking on the map. And at the very top of the screen, the map variables option, this map has what's called bivariate mapping. So you can see up to 2 variables at the same time on the map. As you can see in this case, the first variable is set to total population. You can add a second variable, which will display here and throughout the map with little icons. We also have a filter menu. You can filter up to 3 variables at once, and that will help you in narrowing down the data that you are looking to see on the map. Okay, these are the map buttons. Here you can change the reference layer in the base map and just configure the map the way you'd like to see it. And finally, the map legend. The map legend will let you see the classification of your variables, and you can also configure the map visualizations options. In the next slide, we're going to talk about the Census Business Builder reports. So the reports are clean and customizable and interactive. You can make and modify your selections within the Census Business Builder program, and these changes will be reflected in the report that you generate. You can generate a report for a single geography or multiple geographies, or for a single industry or multiple industries. Next slide, please. The Census Business Builder Region Builder. You have 3 ways in which you can build a region. You can build a region of either 2 or more geographies of the same type, so either 2 or more counties or cities. You can also build a region of 2 or more geographies of different types, so you can have a mix of counties, cities, metros, etc. Or you can have, or you can use one of are pre-built regions. Next slide. Okay, so the theme of today's webinar is disaster impact. And in this case study, we will demonstrate that CBB can be used to assess the potential impact of disasters on surrounding communities. So recently, with the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the Small Business Administration provided a notice of disaster declaration, which stated that the areas surrounding this disaster are at potential risk for economic injury. This catastrophe has far-ranging effects for businesses throughout the state and surrounding areas and are of a national scale and significance. Okay, so on the right, this is a snippet of that disaster declaration notice provided by the Small Business Administration. And I'd like to point your attention to the top and bottom box. The first is the primary counties, and the second is the contiguous counties. So this is where we can use Census Business Builder to build a custom region of these primary counties that are affected by this disaster. And then we can generate a report to evaluate the potential economic and human impact of that disaster. So in this animation, what I'm doing is I am searching for the first geography, which is Allegheny, and then I select the icon to add it to my custom region. The next is Anne Arundel, and now I'm searching for Baltimore County. And as I am adding it, you'll notice that the dashboard is updated with that new county. And I can also give my region a name. Francis Scott Key Bridge Impact Area is what I chose to name this one. So when we create our custom region, we can now compare within this dashboard any two counties within this region to another in terms of any of these data items. In this case, we can compare one county to another for establishments, median household income, or any of these other items that you see here. I can also continue to add additional counties so that I have every county represented on this list if I like. So here, what I'm doing is I'm comparing within the dashboard Baltimore County with Anne Arundel. I can also swap out one of these data items and select another one. In this case, I've selected percent female, and I go back to my region view, and now the new data item is what I'm comparing Allegheny County to Anne Arundel. So it just demonstrates the fact that it is very customizable, and you can switch out any of these data items for comparison, as well as add as many geographies as you like. And finally, once you're finished, we can launch the business profile by selecting the reports button. Next, please. Launching the reports will provide us with this business profile. As we scroll down, we can see that we have access to all sorts of information for this impacted area: demographic, socioeconomic, housing characteristics, and then a business summary of the industries that are potentially impacted, as well as the workforce. Next slide, please. So Census Business Builder is not only accessible on your PC or laptop. You can perform any of these actions and access any of these features across any mobile phone, tablet, as well as your desktop. This includes Android and iOS devices. Next slide, please. 508 compliance. So almost 2 years ago, we went through a full 508 compliance review. And we've identified over 60 areas that we can make updates in order to be in compliance with 508 compliance. So a few of those updates included the high contrast option that you see here on the screenshot, which allows for, you can really see the contrast. So you can see the text very easily. It kind of jumps out at you if you'd like to enable that option. Also, we've enabled tooltips throughout the application as well. Next slide, please. The data in Census Business Builder comes from multiple sources and programs, both in the Census Bureau and outside the Census Bureau. We have demographics, socioeconomic, and housing data, which comes from the American Community Survey and the Decennial Census. Our business data comes from the County Business Patterns, non-employer statistics, and the Economic Census. Our demographic data on business owners comes from the Annual Business Survey. Imports and exports data comes from the International Trade Program. Workforce data comes from the Quarterly Workforce Indicators, and building permits data comes from the Building Permit Survey. Outside of census, we have data, agricultural data, which comes from the Census of Agriculture, employment and related data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, quarterly census of employment and wages from BLS as well. And we've got our consumer spending data comes from Esri. So we purchase that data ahead of time and provide it to our users. And finally, you have the option of uploading your own data as well. Next slide. This slide will provide you with some links to reference material. You can access the Census Business Builder FAQs, as well as information on the map for emergency management and for the On the Map tool as well by clicking on any of these links. Next slide. That'll do it for me. It's been my great pleasure to talk to you all today. And now I will hand it back to Linda.
Thank you, Nadal. Thank you, everyone, for your interest and time in attending today's webinar. Thank you, Arlene and Nadal, for presenting our audience with an interesting and timely case study and how we can use the different data tools to obtain the data that can be applicable to many other scenarios. Today, we featured a case study and showcase helpful data tools. Please come join us again next month on May 30th at 2 p.m. for a presentation on minority businesses and equitable data, where our experts will be diving into the annual business survey and taking a look at the My Community Explorer data tool. But before we begin the Q&A portion of this webinar, please take note of the contact information on this slide for anyone that may be interested in a hands-on in-person training. We have data dissemination specialists that are available to provide this service. If you have questions or need more information, please feel free to email us at census.askdata@census.gov. To ask your question now, please submit your question using the Q&A feature, and we will channel your question to the appropriate expert on our panel. At this moment, we do have a few unanswered questions in the chat. I'll start off with you, Arlene. There is someone who has requested a link to the loads in the chat. And there is a question about from Suzanne. What about small communities? We're in a village at far east end of Long Island, population less than 3,000.
So I apologize. I can only see the PowerPoint. I'm gonna stop sharing if that's okay, so I can see the Q&A as well. So hopefully everybody else can see that. So the first question, I'll go ahead and put a link to the loads data. And I'm sorry, can we repeat the second one? I'll pull it up too.
Sure. The question asks about small communities. We're in a village far east end of Long Island, population less than 3,000, referencing to your part of the presentation.
So I'm sorry, I still don't understand the question. Are you asking if we can access that?
I believe the question, yes, I believe so, based on this.
Yes, you can put in your own, any area that you'd like to put in to look at, and you can do all of the different analyses with your selected area. So you could type in the search into the search the area that you would like.
Thank you, Arlene. The next question is from Brandon, and this is for Nadal. Can you create regional overlays for the map, such as EDA, economic development districts, and use that as a top-level filter or homepage?
Unfortunately, no, we don't have those layers built into the application at this time.
Thanks, Nadal. And we have one more question I just came through during your presentation, Nadal. Is education data available?
Education data is available in Census Business Builder. I believe it will be either in the demographic or socioeconomic subcategories, but there are quite a few options for level of education, including high school and then college, and I believe post-college as well.
Thanks, Nadal. We also have one more question for you, Nadal. Can the CBB focus on urban area instead of a metro area?
It depends on how you define urban area. We only have access to the same geographies that we pull into from our geographies area, so geography division rather within Census. So if there isn't an urban area defined by geography, then we won't have it in Census Business Builder. What you can do is you can identify one of the existing geographies in Census Business Builder, whether it's and kind of determine whether that exists or resides in an urban area, and then you can build a custom geography or custom region of these geographies that exist in urban areas, and then that can be a customized urban area region. So that would be my recommended solution for you.
Thank you, Nadal. One more question for you, Nadal. Is any of this data available through Open Data to import into an Esri map?
You can download the data as CSV files, and depending on Esri's ability to accept those files onto their maps, you should be able to. I can't really speak onto the requirements for importing anything into Esri, but we do have the ability to save the data into a CSV.
Thank you. One question just came through. This is for you, Nadal. As a follow-up to my first question, can we, as a user, create custom region overlay like an EDA district?
A custom region overlay, EDA district. I think I would need to have kind of a more focused discussion on this. It seems like it's a specific use case, Brandon. So if you'd like to reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to make time and chat with you more on this.
Sounds great. Thanks, Nadal. Let's give it a minute to see if anyone else has any questions. All right, let me scroll down here. I believe this question is for you as well, Nadal. How can more than one socioeconomic variable be selected for a zip code?
How can more than one socioeconomic variable be selected for a zip code? Okay, so assuming that you've got zip codes set as your geographic level, this is something that I can kind of demonstrate right now. If you don't mind, I can share my screen. Would that be okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Bear with me here. Okay. All right, so we're talking about two socioeconomic variables. So primary variable, and I've got my socioeconomic subcategory, and I'm just clicking average income. And then secondary, So I can toggle between primary and secondary here at the top. And here I can maybe select percent under 18. So I've got both of my socioeconomic variables here. These will tell me, this geography type filter will tell me which geographies I can select, pull in this information. So it looks like in this case, I'm unable to get this information at anything below a county level, right? If something is available at city or zip, then it will be, I can select it here as my geography type, also here on the map. So that can be an indicator of whether something is available at a certain geography.
Wonderful. Thank you for that demo, Nadal. That's very helpful. Suzanne asked, are you considering adding the annual integrated economic survey data to the CBB? Or do you already?
Very good question. There's a lot of planning going on with AIES, and Census Business Builder is also considering AIES as well. So yes, there has been some consideration. We're in the very early parts of that right now, but yes, it is on our radar.
Thanks, Nadal. All right, it looks like there are no more questions in the Q&A feature. So at this moment, I'd like to express our thanks to everyone again for attending today's webinar. This concludes today's webinar. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.